Hello, everybody! We have Future Redeemed for Xenoblade Chronicles 3. It released last night, and I'm here to give my first impressions, no spoilers, a non-spoiler first impressions of the DLC for you all today, because there's a lot of things they did with the gameplay and the overall world direction that we need to talk about as possible trends they may continue to pursue in the future for this series. There's a lot of little interesting decisions, a lot of design philosophies and pivots and reversions in the formula of a Xenoblade game that we need to get into. So let's talk about it. So I've played for this point a little over 7 hours. A lot of that was doing side content, but not all of it. I'm also playing on hard mode this go around just to spice things up a bit. And right now I have all my party members, we've gotten a little bit into the actual main story, and we have a few zones to unlock. And the actual zones themselves are where a large difference comes into the foreground when it comes to the open world design or the world design of a Xenoblade game. A lot of direction changes have occurred going from Xenoblade 3 to this. And mainly, it's going into the direction of reversion of the formula. And what do I mean by that? A lot of times when we talk about reversion, we talk about going backwards. And how that could be, in a bad light. Seen as losing progress that you made with the previous design directions. I do not believe that to be the case, because I believe they are continuing a trend they started with Xenoblade 3, and that is leaning more back into the formula of Xenoblade X. What do I mean by that? Xenoblade X was the second Xenoblade game released. It was released on the Wii U. It wasn't that popular because, again, the Wii U. However, the game focused far more on its open world design and its overall world exploration, and the content that you do in that world than it was in the story. Future Xenoblade games, including the previous game Xenoblade 1, focused more on the story and the cinematic narrative experience than that open world design direction that X went with. However, with 3, they started to incorporate a few of those design philosophies back into the world of Xenoblade as a whole. And with this DLC, Future Redeemed, they're really leaning into that aspect of pushing exploration forward and have that be a main focal point of the gameplay experience. You can push the main story if you want to. I kind of can't because I'm playing on hard mode. It kind of forces you to keep up, to get leveled up periodically, rather quickly. But right here, you can see we have a checklist of things to do on the left corner of the screen. There's quite a bit. You have containers, which if you remember, they're like your waste containers you found in the base game. You have those returning. Relics are like containers, but with girth. You have ether channels as well, which you use to gain ether cylinders. You have various locations that you can uncover, like little secret areas. I'm pretty sure the area we're at right now, Pioneer's Point, was one of those. No, it was a landmark. You also have landmarks. You have secret areas, which I have not found here in Aurora Shelf yet. We have rest spots as well, like your campfires from the base game. You have field crafting, which are essentially ladders or elevators you can find in the open world that you can use resources you also find in the open world through these, like, resource nodes that you can collect that have become essentially synonymous with an open world Xenoblade experience. You use these items to fix those ladders and elevators when you find them, and they can aid you in exploration, get you to new areas, or provide you various shortcuts. Not too many of them here, but you get the point. We also have City Survivors, and this one's the big one for me. The City Survivors is a really interesting mechanic, where essentially, when you're out exploring, you may find some jabroni hid up in a corner, or attacking a few mobs, or they're getting attacked by a few mobs, whatever it is. And you may decide in your infinite wisdom, hey, what if I help them? And if you help them, they may return to the city. They could also die. I don't know if it's guaranteed for each character, if they're going to live or die, if it's predetermined, or if you have to, like, perform specially. I think it's predetermined. But if you succeed in saving them, they return to your outpost. And in that outpost, if you collect enough, you may find additional side quests unlock with those characters that you saved. So there's a good bit of synergy. You did not have to save those city survivors, but if you do, you may unlock more to their story, more to their characters, more side quests that you can unlock and pursue at your own leisure to follow up on that character or series of characters that you save, which I did. I saved 3 survivors already, and I found a new quest back in the outpost that involved all 3 of those survivors that I managed to save. It was a really cool little quest line. It gave them character, developed the world, fleshed out the cast of characters we have right now. It was a really good time, in my opinion. And also, a few things returned from Xenoblade of old. We go back to the main menu and we go to Affinity Goals. Now, Affinity Points is your main resource throughout this game. This is the resource that you will use to progress your characters outside of just leveling them up or gaining new gear. This leads into Affinity Growth, which are essentially little talent points. Think like Eno customization from the base game. Kind of like that, where you gather a certain amount of Affinity Points and you can spend them on various characters here to pursue higher ranks for them. And more talents. I decided to go hard into Rex here. Take a guess why. And I found out, oh, Rex can get pretty freaking strong. There's a lot of customization. It's one of the reasons I said that making a reversion back to the Xenoblade X formula, even more so than the base game. Because there's a lot of customization, there's a lot of progression, there's a lot to do with this DLC that's not just focused around the story cinematic experience, but around the gameplay experience you have exploring the world and customizing your characters. They are massively leaning into this direction. And it's a direction, in my opinion, that I think is paying off. Because Affinity Points, like I thought with the Nopon Silver and Gold coin system from the base game, is a really intuitive system because you're rewarded for doing a bunch of various things with this singular resource. So, you can play how you want to gain these Affinity Points that you can spend how you want them on the characters that you want them. There's a lot of non-linearity when it comes to the customization and the progression system in this DLC, and I really like this direction pivot they have gone with the series, leaning more back into the customization that Xenoblade 1 and X had, that 2 and 3 kind of left out on or streamlined to some degree. You have Exploration, which involves doing this stuff on the left here, and you get Affinity Points for like discovering locations or landmarks, rest spots, field crafting, city survivors, etc., etc. However, you can also do battle missions, which are essentially little skirmishes like from the base game that you can find out in the open world. You go up to them, you don't have a choice this time, you just see enemies and you fight them, job done. You have Affinity Scenes, so if you are familiar with the heart-to-heart system of old, it makes a return to a degree. It's not fully returned, they're not exactly like the heart-to-heart system from Xenoblade 1 or 2, or even X. It's a modification of 3. But in a way that I really appreciate. I think it's a step that is at least in a better direction than what 3 did. I think 3 had my least favorite heart-to-heart system in the franchise. This is a step in the right direction. I'm going to show you one right here. I saved a few so I can do them on stream or in this video. We have an Affinity Scene here. What essentially these are is, you know those scenes you get when you first get into a new zone that does a panoramic shot showcasing you various aspects of that new zone you got to? These are essentially the replacement for that. And what you get also is a little bit of characterization for them. So, I'm going to show this Affinity Scene. There's normally not a lot of like actual main story spoilers when it comes to this. It's normally just a couple of characters talking about the zone. So, let's do this. Loads in, and you get this like panoramic shot here.
You really gotta admit, this world is crazy huge.
Matthew, the world truly is vast. Far more than you'll ever know, and filled with mystery. And while we're not currently in the position to travel it at our leisure, one day soon, you should let your feet walk it from end to end. You would stand to gain much from the experience. Who knows? You may even discover a new land for the people of the city to call home.
Huh. You were a rover then, eh?
You know, I may well have been.
Why is everything you say so damn elusive?
See what I mean? 1, the voice actor. That's a big plus for me. 2, you get some characterization from them as the characters discuss the zone around you and you see more areas around it. So you don't get the cinematography that you got with the Heart-to-Hearts from Xenoblade 2, but you get the one-on-one nature that you got with the Heart-to-Hearts from Xenoblade 1. And I really like this system. I still prefer 2s overall, but these are at least a nice way to give you certain panoramic shots of the various locations here, because it's another point I want to talk about. The freaking world is gorgeous. Oh my god. This zone by itself is one of my favorites I've been in. You have the giant Sophronia tree here overlooking everything. You have Araya over there in the distance, more Dane as well. The Great Sword as well. There's so many great just visual vistas here in this world that I really appreciate. And honestly, I may prefer what we've seen so far compared to the first few zones of Xenoblade 3. They've done a really good job with the zone design, because they didn't go too big, but they packed a lot into these little zones that we've had so far. That rewards exploration, rewards me thinking outside the box and wanting to explore everything, grinding, leveling. I want to do this. Like, as someone who likes to be a bit of a completionist from time to time, this really resonates with me, and I'm really enjoying this. We also have the community system from Torna returning, but in a modified format. Now, what we got here is essentially a list of NPCs who have various tasks that you need to perform in order to unlock their community rank. I do not know yet if this system is mandatory for main quest completion. I don't know, I have not run into that yet, but Torna's was locked at the very end. So it could still be, I don't know though. And normally, what you're supposed to do here is, you may find a new NPC through just talking to them in the main city, or just around. You may do a quest line involving them, and they'll be added to the community system afterwards. And if you want to gain their community point, you have to complete their tasks associated with that character. So if I want Baba Lulu here, I would have to complete the quest, The Very Lost Nopon. If I want Babobi, I would have to do Babobi's Bad Bad Day, and then another hidden quest. If I want Berber, I would have to complete Chapter 3 of the main story, complete the quest Dungeon Mapping, which I already did, complete Babobi's Bad Bad Day, and then I have to check a certain conversation with that character, and then I would unlock that character for the community rank, and I would gain some AP points for that. I can also track individual characters like that. Now, the two big ones for me, the Enemypedia and the Collectorpedia. The Enemypedia is very straightforward and simple. Essentially, each zone has certain enemies associated with it. So, I'm in Aurora Shelf right now. We have these enemies that populate this zone of various levels. If I want to complete the Enemypedia, I have to defeat a certain number of each enemy. So, in order to fulfill this one, the Onogoro Piranax, I have to defeat 3. I've defeated 2 so far. If I defeat 1 more, I'll gain some AP for it. And they also give me a little bit of information about that enemy that we're fighting. So this one drops wolf meat. This one drops crusted jet spray. Well-aged camel juices. I don't want to even know what that comes from. Aromatic unlued meat. There's certain enemies I just have not found yet. We keep going. There's a lot of enemies. There's a lot to do in this open world if you so want to. And here you're... I always forget what they're called. I call them like the rare enemies that you can beat, again, if you want to. You don't have to do this, at least from my understanding right now. If you played Xenoblade 1 and you played Xenoblade X, you are probably fully cognizant of what the Collectorpedia is. Collectorpedia is like the Enemypedia, but for resources that you collect in the open world. So, in Aurora Shelf, I can collect all these various resources, and I need a certain number of them. Once I hit a certain number of them, I can expend those items to register them in the Collectorpedia and gain a bit of AP here. I have 4 Milky Soy. I spend those. They've now been added to the Collectorpedia. That's done. I don't need that item anymore. They've been added to the Collectorpedia, and I get some AP. You can do this for this one over here as well. Area complete. Job done. I have now completed Aurora's Shelf, and I got some more AP because of it. I can go back over here, and we can see my progression of Vermilion Woods. Not complete yet. I still got some things I need to collect here. I can go back there, find these items, and then register them in the Collectorpedia, and I get some AP that I can use on character progression. There's a lot of systems in this DLC. I don't know how long the DLC is going to be, but there's a lot of systems that reward you playing the way you want or just completing everything, which is how I want to play, that flow into each other. Now, the character progression, because this is a big one. Normally in a Xenoblade game, the way you would unlock a bunch of other stuff is just through main story completion. You would get to a certain point in the main quest line, you would say, hey, we unlocked a new ability, Poggers. I got new arts I can use. Not here. The way you unlock this stuff is with various items that you can, again, find in the open world. So, if I happen to find an arts expansion item while collecting a certain container, by the way, though, they can be found in containers, or if I find something in the open world that maybe gets me a new gem slot, or right here, where I can unlock a whole new suite of talents. So, I already spent one on Rex, I'm going to do another one, because I have 2 of these Affinity Growth Unlock Kits. I spend one of these that I found, again, in the open world, and I got another one through a quest that I completed, or side quest. I now have access to a whole bunch of new talents that I can use for Rex, like attack by 10%, crit by 10%. Strong, but kind of boring talents, right? They're just number increases. But boost damage by 20% for every enemy in battle, so just more enemies I face, I get more damage. For attack to be unblockable, chain attack gauge up, fills chain attack gauge slightly on auto execution, instant KO, excluding bosses, flash and flame increase way more crits, I'm going to take that. And we also get various additional benefits to talents we picked before, like Lightspeed Blade, which I'm going to take here. On crit, ignore enemy defense, also increases critical hit damage bonus by 50 percentage points. Rex is a crit machine. These talents allow me to augment my arts, just make them better. So, the system itself is rather intriguing to me. These talents themselves, though, are kind of basic. Why do I say that? Because they're not really affecting the buttons that I'm pressing. I like it when a talent system that I have is affecting the buttons I'm pressing and making me think differently because of the art, or because of the buttons, or because of these talents that I have now. This just means I can use Rolling Smash more often. Cool, that's nice. I have more things to press on a more often basis, and Rolling Smash is kind of nice. But again, it's mainly just I hit the button more. Boost damage dealt by 8% when landing a critical hit. Again, that's just making the number bigger. If you can combine this system with talents, like maybe giving me additional arts or something, you can unlock arts back here. Right here, learn arts. But then afterwards, they just become enhance the arts. So you can learn additional new abilities back here. You can do that. Which is what I did. I got Rolling Smash and Sword Bash. But again, most of these are going to be rather just numbers go up. Not that exciting, but the progression system itself, I find rather nice. And I can make Rex pretty strong here. You can see I already have this crit rate at 62%. This affects accessories as well. This is also another thing you can find in the open world. Same thing along with these battle manuals. If you recall the chain attack system from Xenoblade 3, characters had various affixes, especially the heroes, that when you used them in a chain attack, they did certain things. You can essentially customize what each character does here by applying this. So if I use Rex in a chain attack, I get this benefit. Multiplies TP by 150% when first in line to attack. Cool. And he's an attacker, so I'm going to put that on him. I believe... Who did I put the other one on? I put the other one on A. So this one, when chosen, multiplies TP from next character to act by 125%. She's a healer, so probably going to go second to last. I can make the final one do even more TP to possibly get a Bravo or an Amazing because of that. So there's some nice level of customization here. There's some nice level of thought and strategy I can put into building my characters and rounding them out the way I want to do it. Because I didn't need to go so hard into Rex that I did. I could have spent these two on any of these other characters. I could have done it on any one of them. I chose to do it on Vex because that's what I wanted to do. I want A to be pretty good. So I'm going to unlock another affinity growth for her. So I get a whole new swath of talents that I can do here for her. One on into another, then raising art damage by 25%. I get a whole bunch of stuff here. Again, mainly just enhancing, making numbers better. But it's a good step in the right direction in terms of adding more character customization and adding more traditional RPG elements into a Xenoblade game or to a Xenoblade experience. And I think this is a really interesting system to go with. And I don't mind having some level of friction here and there if it means creating a more thoughtful, provoking experience on the whole. My one main critique is that this applies to the arts as well. At this point, I'm like 7 hours in, just let me use all my art slots. Like, that's kind of where I'm at right here. Because I can use 5 here on A, not counting vision. But everyone else still needs to unlock them. And at this point, I'm just like, okay, just let me get them. You can find them in the open world. They said there's going to be enough for you to get it on everyone, to max out everyone. Cool, but again, kind of think that's one of those things where I just prefer getting the arts early on, and then you add in customization and depth on top of that to further the progression, the customization, instead of locking off the ability to do these arts to begin with. That's just where I'm coming from right now. A way they could go around this is by just reducing the cooldown on a lot of these drastically. That'd be one way to go about it, just because I don't want to be standing around not hitting buttons a lot of the time. And that's where I come at sometimes nowadays, especially right now with this combat system. If I get into a fight here, let's say we go fight... Oh, there's nothing really around here that's going to be my level. That's actually something I can fight. Well, 21 jabroni over here. I already have this in the Animepedia. I do not have to fight this. I'm just going to do this for a little bit of a demonstration. Oh, yeah. By the way, there's various talents. So if you attack an enemy from a certain direction on a certain character, you get various effects. So I think Rex is if you attack them first from behind or from the side, you can launch them immediately. It's freaking busted. I love it. Well, it's not really that busted right now. It just gives you a little bit of a buffer to put up your buffs and stuff so you're prepared. So instead of having interlinks, by the way, you get these combo attacks. Very straightforward and simple. I'll talk about them in a second. But again, another layer of customization and character progression that you just have. Move over here, gigantic beat here. My Vex is pretty strong now, or at least getting pretty strong. I have 2 healers, Glimmer and A. Put down illusory bloom here. Got a lot of buffs going out. There we go. Now.
Just do as I say, okay?
Sorry, I have to get back on Vex. It's a thing for me. Okay. We have another affinity scene here. There's a lot of those. Now, we need to talk about Unity. Unity attacks. So, essentially, in lieu of having interlinks, because that's not a system we have right now, we have these Unity skills. What you do with these Unity skills is you partner a character up with one other character of your choosing. So, I can pair Matthew with A, Nickel, Glimmer, Shulk, or Rex, and depending upon who I pair him up with, I get a different effect. So, with A, the Unity skill does boost effective arts with each different art used within a set time. So, the more arts I do, the more damage this does, or boosts the effect. Deals huge damage to enemies in range and inflicts blowdown. If I pair him up with Nickel instead, extends area of effect of arts attack, which have 1 by 50% and boosts their damage by 100%. So AoE does even more AoE. Deals damage to enemies in range and inflicts burst. So I can go for blowdown, burst, or smash here with Rex. And they all have different effects here. I do this, and now a Nickel Again, you can see, because they change based on what character we're taking here. So Nickel, if I put him up with A, 10% chance to evade enemy attack, deal damage to inflict, and inflict smash. I can do it with all these characters. There's a lot of different partnerships you can do here if you so choose to. I like pairing Shulk up with Rex just because it's Shulk and Rex. Come on. But also, boost damage dealt when attacking high-level enemies by 50% and inflict smash. That's a lot of damage on bosses that I quite like to have. Confirm, these are my pairings, and this is who I'll be taking for the Unity system, because it also affects the chain attack system, because that replaces the interlink mechanic in the chain attacks as well. So you're going to gun for 2 characters you have a Unity with in the chain attack system to do what would be an interlink attack and a chain attack from the base game. That's what you're trying to do. So if I go in a chain attack, I go for Matthew, then A, and then can do their Unity one, where at the end, they'll do a Unity attack in the chain attack. So it's a very similar chain attack system, but instead of interlinks, you have those Unity mechanics. Community, like I said before, is right here. Again, you can pursue this if you want. We have party skills, so we can have meal facts, we can swim, slow digestion, item retrieval, speed jog. I haven't even unlocked everything yet. But right now, there's so much to do in this world that I've just been wanting to explore it. And I've been enjoying myself because the music is freaking phenomenal. Seriously, some of my favorite tracks I've ever heard for a zone theme for Xenoblade have been in this game. Already. We're like 3 zones deep. The music is gorgeous, the visuals are breathtaking. This zone is literally one of my favorites to explore. It's multi-layered, there's verticality to it. There's things to find pretty much everywhere. You feel rewarded for exploring. See, I just found this as well. And you can see on the mini-map, that little yellow ring around it, it glows the closer you are to one of the containers. So, it helps push you in the right direction to find them.
Love me a bit of loot.
Love me a bit of loot. We got a new container. There we go. Got some accessories. Got some items. Got some money. It's what you like to see.
This is quite rare.
And again, the map is very interconnected. Like, that's just a previous zone we were at before. It flows from one zone into the other. And it's so nice to see so far. I repaired that ladder in the main story to actually get up here to get into this zone. There's so many little things like that I really appreciate. Yeah, again, I haven't even talked about the camping system yet. Because there's been some renovations to the camping system. Let's go over here. Right before we end the video. So we have this thing called the X-Reader, and not just sounding like something out of Digimon.
How shall I go about improving this?
The X-Reader, essentially, you can upgrade to get various benefits. Treasure Sensor. I've unlocked Treasure Sensor, Sense Analysis, and Weakness Sensor. Treasure Sensor can detect treasure, containers, and relics, notifying you with sound and light, which is what I was just talking about. Sense Analysis, the X-Reader can detect and display enemy sense types. So I think that type of aggro that the enemy is, so if they aggro onto you by sound or by visual, that will tell you, I guess. Weakness Sensor can detect and display data about enemies' weak points. Are they weak from the front, back, or the side? What are they weak to? That can tell you. Arts Analysis. The X-Reader can help keep combat flowing smoothly, displaying art info and marking which arts are effective. It's just giving you more information. Can detect key items, notifying you with sound and light. Again, not much, but it's a little something else that you can progress that gives you a benefit in the open world to explore. See how all these systems interflow with one another and flow from one into the other? They work off of each other to make a better cohesive experience. We have gem systems returning. This system is quite literally just the gem system from Xenoblade 3, but instead, all the gems only go up to level 5. Very bog standard. I think most of the gems, or if not all of them, are just the same ones from 3. We have cooking. I only have 2 recipes at the current juncture. Combat Streak Experience Plus, which essentially just means you get more XP if you fight enemies one after the other in one combat scenario. So essentially, before you drop out of combat, just get into a battle with something else and just like train that along, and you get more XP the more you fight. Up to a certain amount, then Bob's your uncle. Enemy drop boost. But yeah, see what I mean? There's a lot of little systems that really lend themselves towards exploring these zones. I'm only 7 hours in here.
Well then, let's be
And look how much I've explored. I've just explored this one zone. I'm only 14% for Aurora Shelf. There's quite a bit here. Like, there's quite a bit. I still need to get a lot of containers. There's still 5 relics somewhere. There's still 3 more ether channels. 7 more locations. 3 more landmarks. A secret area somewhere. I got all the rest spots. There's 8 more ladders or elevators for me to craft. There's 2 more survivors. 5 more unique monsters. 3 more enemy territories, which are like little enemy bases you can raid and defeat the enemies they're in to get more AP, which is just essentially you run up to a pack of enemies and you fight them. On hard mode, I lure them out individually. That's what I do. Fog rifts I've not unlocked yet. And we also have affinity scenes. There's a lot here, and this is a per zone basis, by the way. Vermilion Woods, which is only 23% done. There's a lot to do already in only these first 3 zones. It's a really cool open world experience that they've made so far. Because the world doesn't feel too big. It doesn't feel inconvenient to really navigate around it. And there's stuff pretty much everywhere. I don't know, maybe that's just like a part of me that I like about RPGs. This completionist angle that makes me want to complete everything. The fact it just tells you over the head of all the enemies. There's so many little UI decisions that they made with Future Redeemed that just makes exploring the world and going for this completionist mindset I'm going into this game with feel so more rewarding. I see these wolves and I immediately know, hey, I already beat all of them. I don't need to look them up individually to find out if I need to fight more. Same thing with these turkets. If they don't have a symbol above their head, that means I haven't encountered them yet. And I need to fight them to add them to collection log. I mean, the enemypedia. If there's a symbol like that right there on those piranha, that means I found them. I may have beaten a couple of them, but I haven't finished the job. Let me go over there and beat them freaking senseless. Here we go. Boom. See, enemypedic entry complex done for the piranha. It's a really cool and rewarding system that just like touches some part of my brain in a really nice way. And again, they're leaning back on the zone design direction of Xenoblade 1 because these zones feel so much like the design direction they went with Xenoblade 1 in terms of visuals, in terms of how they feel to explore, but with the customization and the list of things to do in them and the activities of Xenoblade X. It's a really nice blend, in my opinion, that I really appreciate. And also, when it comes to the visual perspective of the visual design of these worlds and of these zones, they look and feel fundamentally different from day to night. Sure, the mechanics of exploring them are kind of, the same, but looking at them from day to night feels so freaking different, and it's so cool. Let's go to nighttime, back at the camp, and you'll see what I mean. You just saw how those zones looked at day. At night, you have the Sophronia glowing in the background. You have like these spectral, astral mists up in the sky with the clouds and the stars just glowing. It looks gorgeous. And you have the lighting from the tree illuminating large sections of the map. The lighting in this game, by the way, is freaking gorgeous. This is one zone. I haven't even shown you the others. Let me show you the first zone you get into this game with. Seriously, I'm not joking with you. The game is absolutely freaking gorgeous. We go down here, walk out the cave. See, it's kind of nice. It's not as good as the first zone at night, but if we go back here, at day, watch this. Watch how different that zone just looks.
Well, here we are.
They're making excellent use of the lighting here. And use of colors to differentiate night and day. And that was one of the defining features of zone design for me from Xenoblade 1. That I really treasured about that game's zone design. I said this about base Xenoblade 3, where in a lot of ways it felt like they were taking the lessons from the past, taking the good stuff, amplifying that, and leaving the bad behind. That feels even more true here. but they with a different design direction, far more in line with those Xenoblade X elements in terms of exploring the world and having a lot of those open world areas and exploring the open world be part of the forefront of the gameplay experience. And I really appreciate that. Where it feels like exploring the world is the content, and I do appreciate that. I still need to play the rest of the game, and I don't know how well paced the story will be from here on out. I'm really enjoying the story. I'm not going to alliterate or elucidate on that further, but I'm really liking the story. I'm really liking pretty much everything. Oh yeah, this is like a good example of me being able to show you. This is one of the ladders you can find in the open world. I can repair it. Watch this. With those resources that I also found in the open world. Ladders made. Oh look, new area I can explore. What's up here? New treasure something? Let's see. Yes, there's a new container up here. That's mine. Got some gemstones. I can make some more, well, gems. It's a really cool world they've crafted so far here, and I'm only like 7.5 hours into it. I'm so excited to see where this game goes from here. I really am. So I'm going to call the video there for today. Thank you all for tuning in. My pleasure making the video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out and helps support future content, and I greatly appreciate it. Stay safe, everybody. Have a great day. I will be streaming more of my first playthrough of this game on the channel every day on this YouTube channel. So stick around if you want to see my reactions to it. Thank you all for tuning in. Stay safe. Hope you all have a great day. Hit the bell icon to be notified when I upload and stream in the future. Stay safe. Have a great day. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe. And I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye, everybody.